Hello and welcome. Good evening to everybody who is joining on LinkedIn and YouTube. This evening, I'm going to have the pleasure of being joined by my fellow investors and fellow entrepreneurs. I have the pleasure of introducing Ilana and Elodie and Simone. Thank you all very much for joining as entrepreneurs and investors. So, very briefly, in order of appearance, Ilana, would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Of course, my pleasure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Ilana. I'm the founder and CEO of FRA, standing for Food for All. We are a company which has the mission to fight food waste on the supermarket level, but more broadly across all retails in Luxembourg and in the world. That was it.
Thank you very much. Short and sweet. Elodie.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Elodie Trojanowski. I'm CEO and co-founder of Lux Factory. We are IT consulting company and also an innovation advisor working on IT projects with big corporates in Luxembourg and Belgium. I'm also here tonight for B-Angels. B-Angels is the largest community and network of business angel in Belgium, France, and Luxembourg. And if for the startup who are pitching tonight, don't hesitate to contact me also for further information and send your application to have the possibility to pitch in front of our business angel.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Simone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Simone La Torre. I've been doing entrepreneurship for quite some years now, raised a decent amount of money. I'm currently, among other things, an angel investor. I typically invest tickets between 25 and 75,000. And I have now 8 startups in my portfolio. And I'm constantly working with startups in Luxembourg and in Europe for refining not only the pitching, but also the investment process and what happens after the pitching.
Excellent. So thank you very much for taking the time this evening. So you are going to be operating in the background. The way that this is going to work is that I'm going to take you off the stream, and then we're going to invite our first startup to come and pitch after a very brief introduction. So 1, 2, and 3. So for our audience joining, we're going to have the pleasure of listening to 3 startups this evening, 3 pitches. And effectively, what they're going to have is 20 minutes in total, and they can pitch for up to 10 minutes. And then the rest of the time is going to be spent on helping them improve their pitch. So we're going to give them feedback, we're going to give them advice. And of course, as each startup is going to pitch, we're all going to be able to learn together. The whole point of this is to create a safe space in which we can all improve our public speaking skills and also understand what it is that investors are actually looking for. So without any further ado, and we will come back afterwards, we're going to have Mathieu Gress from Machinery Scanner. And if you're ready, I'm going to start the timer when you start pitching, and this is going to be true for everyone. If you get close to the 10 minutes, I'm going to stop you. And then when the time is up at the 20-minute mark, we will move on to the next startup. Right at the end, we'll have a roundtable, a discussion of what it is that we have learned all together, and then we will bid you good evening. So in 3, 2, 1, welcome, Mathieu.
Hello, everyone.
Are you ready to pitch?
Yes, I am ready. Thank you.
Very good.
So, let me share my screen.
I will start the timer when you start pitching.
Okay. About to play. So let me know, please, when you see the full screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So we can start. Trading heavy equipment is difficult. We make it easy. Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Gress and I am from Machinery Scanner, the safest online marketplace for trucks and heavy equipment. On this slide, you can see us, the two co-founders. These pictures was taken 10 years ago, in 2013. We are both insiders from this industry. We used to work together, manage and lead the European teams of the #1 advertising company for machinery, trucks and farm equipment in the world. Since that time, we have been in contact with the market every day. This is our current team. Stefano is an Italian marketing expert with more than 10 years of experience in the online machinery industry. He is the co-founder and CMO of our company. Darko helps us with the technical part and Anaita takes care of our finance. Klaus Sukens, the ex-vice president of Caterpillar Canada, just joined our team as advisor and brought with him more than 30 years of experience in the industry. Matthew, I am the co-founder and CSO of the company. I am specialized in sales and business development. Funny story, I started working in sales doing door-to-door in the US. With Stefano, we have complementary skills and personality. Being insiders from this sector, we noticed real gaps and faced many fraud and fake companies. International transactions are very difficult and risky today. There is a huge lack of trust and transparency between dealers and buyers, like in the car industry, an increase of online fraud and scammers. There was no real aggregator system for trucks and heavy equipment in Europe. And finally, there was no one-stop solution for all machinery needs in the world. Our ambition is to become the TripAdvisor of the machinery industry. Right now, if you go to a city where you have never been before and you look for a good restaurant, you will certainly use the TripAdvisor app. Our goal is for people looking for a machine or for any other needs around machinery to directly think about Machinery Scanner as the only reliable solution. This is a niche market worth billions worldwide. Every day, machines are sold and traded between different countries and continents. On the right slide, we show that the annual sale of trucks and heavy equipment are forecasted to grow at least 6% in the coming years. Being active in this industry for more than 10 years, we can't deny that digital marketing is becoming more and more important in the sales of heavy equipment. We are building a network of trustworthy professionals. On the one hand, with our solution, we firstly target machinery dealers looking to improve their online presence while increasing their sales and entering into new markets. On the other hand, Machinery Scanner is a one-stop solution that enables users to find and purchase heavy equipment quickly, conveniently, and efficiently. We make the trading of heavy equipment faster, easier, and safer. To respond to the trust need and fight against scammers, we created the first and only review system paired with a certification program dedicated to machinery dealers. To help dealers take control of their company image and online authority, we built the marketing lab. And finally, to help people find the best deal in less time, we launched the Machinery Scanner aggregator system. Where we stand now and what we've already achieved. Today, Machinery Scanner is the largest search engine for dealers in Europe with more than 55,000 companies registered in our database. Machinery Scanner is also the largest and only aggregator system for machinery and trucks in Europe with more than 50,000 ads. With more than 15 international partnerships, Machinery Scanner is the only one-stop solution to trade truck and machinery efficiently. How we make money? Easy. We have three main sources of revenue: subscription fee, commission system, and cost per click out. The subscription fee is for dealers to use our review system and internal marketing tools. We help them collect reviews from their best customers and use this satisfaction to get out of the crowd. The Machinery Scanner widget and sharing options are real conversion tools. We also have a commission system via cross-selling agreements with partners. Indeed, we offer additional services to dealers and end customers, such as listing, inspection, or shipping services. As you can see on this slide, the biggest European players already work with us. Cost per click out. This source of revenue is not set yet. We plan on selling visibility via redirection links to our partners' portal and dealers. In other words, we will soon sell advertising and monetize traffic. Here you can see some testimonial from our customers. Brian, the third biggest truck dealer in Europe, work with us for our cross-selling agreement. Aviano Ducio, the second biggest spare part dealer in Europe, work with us for our review system, certification, and marketing services. Finally, Smithma, a well-known Dutch company in the machinery industry, uses our listing service on partner site. Our main strength is that we have all services in one place. We do not have direct competitors combining all our tools and solutions, but we face some key players in each segment. Some of those companies are actually our client for the review system as well as some of the cross-selling services we provide. Today, we are looking for 500,000 euro investment with skilled business people to join us on board of this huge machine called Machinery Scanner. Our system is ready and we do not need to invest in any prototype or product. We have the right tools to revolutionize this industry. Starting from Europe, our goal is to go global. Machinery Scanner is a disruptive company bringing innovative tools in an old-fashioned industry. Our business model and the industry we are focusing on are resilient in any international crisis. We have many expansion ideas in mind and we just need to prioritize. How are we going to use this 500,000 euro? Here we made a forecast plan for the 36 coming months. Our main sources of revenue will be the review system, certification, and marketing services. Second, the cross-selling service with partners. And third, the cost per click out via the aggregator system. The first year, we plan on hiring 3 sales employees to join our team. We plan on investing 150K in marketing activities the first year, 216 the second year, and about 300 the third year. The two main investments should bring us more sales for each of our services. So you might wonder why now? Actually, the time is perfect for our company to grow as we are bringing solutions to current international issues. The increase of online transaction due for some reason to COVID pandemic and the need of machinery impacted by international events such as the World Cup, international conflict or natural disaster constantly fuel growth in our activities. Machinery Scanner is the right solution at the right time. On this slide, I just want to point out some big names and share some figures with you. Ritchie Bros is the #1 group for heavy machinery in the world. They purchased the biggest European listing portal, Mascus, for 24 million in 2016. Last year, Ritchie Bros almost purchased EuroAuction, the #1 European auction company, for more than 1 billion. Used Equipment Guide is our only competitor for the aggregator system. This is a US-focused company that was financed 3 million by Caterpillar USA in 2018. I am mentioning those companies to show you that any of those giants might actually be interested to invest or to buy us out once we'll scale up. Now I'll ask you to imagine the world without trucks and machines for 1 minute. What would happen? Let me tell you, you just need to look around you. Machinery are everywhere. Without heavy equipment, the current construction on the highway between Luxembourg City and Bettembourg will not be, or the Cloche-d'Or or Kirchberg offices and shops would not have been built. Without trucks, there wouldn't be no fuel at the gas station, groceries at the supermarket, or food in the fridge. Without farm equipment, there wouldn't be any cereal production or bread on the table. In other words, without machinery, the world and the economy would stop. Let me recap our key points to finish. We are insiders from this industry with more than 50 years of experience combined. We noticed real gaps and we have the right solutions and services to solve them. We are an international and complementary team. Our sector is resilient to any international crisis. Like the machinery industry, we just keep hammering. We do not offer you a simple idea or project, but to be part of a revolutionary company with a global impact and limitless opportunities. Please let me know if you have any question. Thank you.
So that was 9 minutes, 22 seconds. So you're within the time frame. Thank you very much. We're going to invite our jurors. 2, 3. So, ladies and gentlemen, who would like to go first with some feedback? Simone. So could the rest of us mute ourselves, please? There's a bit of background noise. I apologize.
Can you, Philip, if you mute yourself, it's not going to work much.
Yes, thank you. And Simone, please, over to you.
Perfect. Mathieu, thanks a lot for the presentation. I'll tell you a couple of things. I'll go through basically the notes that I put.
Sure.
It's not going to be exhaustive because there is a lot of feedback that could be interesting. Nevertheless, I particularly enjoyed your tone, your attitude in the presentation. I mean, you're confident, you're uplifted, and so that's very positive. I like that in your structure you've done something that I always, or better, I never succeeded at doing, which is to play the team card right at the beginning of the deck. I generally tend to put it a bit lower in. Nevertheless, I know that it's very well appreciated if you manage to put the team card right on top, because it gives you a nice credibility argument in your specific case. What I tell you about the overall deck is that I sort of like you explained something to me that I didn't know. My understanding of the heavy machinery industry is that it's actually so small that if I had to buy heavy machinery, I would probably go to the manufacturer instead of going to dealers in between. And so I believe that when looking at this deck from the eyes of an investor, the question that I would ask, that it would let me with, is that I don't see the fact that you've reported a quantifiable benefit for the dealers. So without your solution and with your solution, how does their sales process change in terms of numbers, in terms of volumes? What do you expect that you're going to allow them to do better, and by how much? Because to a certain extent, the conversation of TripAdvisor of the machinery industry is a strong comparison. At the same time, the way TripAdvisor does their business development and commercial activities is literally quantitatively going to the restaurant and say, if you're listed here, you're going to have 370% better traffic. So it would be interesting to see that part. I think as well that, so I like a lot the way you explained not only the amount of money you're raising, but also a very detailed sort of like use of proceeds and the roadmap in the future. From that roadmap, it is clear. So from that financial slide, it is clear that this is the first time you're raising funds, the first 500K. This is something that I would suggest you actually state when you're raising funds. So qualify the round that you are joining. Is it 500,000 for a seed round? It gives immediately to the person sitting on the other side of the table an information of what type of, how many soft gloves they need to wear or not with you when dealing with you, because the way a pitch is received for seed or series B, it's completely different. Also the way the comments and the demands. What is not also particularly clear to me from the deck is that I've seen you flew over it quite fast, is your revenue generation. You're already revenue generating on the order of a few thousand. I don't remember precisely. You did not say it in your speech, but you wrote it on the slides. And there, the question that I would ask, again, wearing the investor hat, is in that same slide you wrote that you have 99% of the heavy machinery dealers on your platform. And then I would tell you, how does that connect to the less than 2K on the monthly revenue generation? Why isn't that a lot more? And the last thing that I would tell you about the pitch is basically that the last formal thing that I would tell you about the pitch is that I think, your pitch is extremely well structured. I think in the end, you're missing the opportunity for giving a better call to action on the last slides, at least on the last slide. What I would do less if I were you is change less the design of the slides as you go across the deck, because almost each slide is designed in a different format. And often you have emoticons, clip arts, a Ferrari photo at the team. So I understand that you want to associate sort of like feelings and emotions to that. But generally, a structured deck that goes through the various slides, it's easier to understand if things don't just move around slide after slide, if this makes sense.
Totally, yeah.
That's all on my side.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So we've got 5-6 minutes left, and we're going to move on to Ilana, Elodie, who would like to give some feedback. Elodie, fire away.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mathieu, for the presentation. So from my point of view, structuration was really, really good. I think the presentation was very complete. You had all the, you had the team, you had the last slide. So it's not, it doesn't make noise. What I didn't like, it was that on some slides you wrote a lot of text, which here you provoke some noise. People are a little bit lost because you are speaking and there you are trying to focus also on the writing, which is never very good. So it's very important for you to just to put some bullet points on your slide and try to avoid the text. Also, you mentioned the 500K, but it could be interesting to put some more detail about how you're going to use it, for what, why you need it. Also, for the increased sales turnover, I saw that you mentioned times 4 from 2020 to 23 and times 7 from 23 to 24, I think. But it could be interesting for us to know how you can manage to get to these numbers. Yeah, from my point of view, the rest was quite good. Try not to read too much because you know your company. So try to be a little bit more confident about what you are explaining and put some more highlights by the storytelling. Try to tell a story instead of, being like, I did that, I did that, I did that. And I think the rest is quite good.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Ilana, would you like to say something?
Of course. So Simone and Elodie were pretty precise on the feedback. First of all, thank you so much, Mathieu, for this presentation. I would like to take it on the entrepreneurial side, not the investor side, right? So the purpose of your pitch right now is to fundraise. It's either pre-seed or seed, right?
Seed, yeah.
Seed. So by experience, I think a lot of financial data are missing. Customer acquisition costs, as an example, the traction, retention rates. The number of clients is great, but potentially turnover, all of those data are really important. No matter what, it's series pre-seed, seed, series A, series B, whatever. Take this as already an exercise and put it already in your pitch, because it shows that you know your business from inside out and from outside in. When it comes to your business model, I missed a little part on the business model. So you showed a little bit of revenues, how you make it in detail, where you can go. Also, what are the future revenue streams that you will potentially put in place, because this is a marketplace, and you will not stop to those revenue streams for sure. That I know. Otherwise, you presented pretty well. When it's a 10 minutes pitch, try to be very, very concise. And as a feedback, I would say that unfortunately, when you pitch in front of investors or in front of people, it's not what you say that is important, it's how you present it, and the format, right? Because unfortunately, this is humanity, right? We're all humans. We all potentially remember 10% of what you said, and none of us are experts in your field. And you really show that you're a super expert in your field. I think that you can also strengthen the storytelling part, because this is how you catch people. And as Elodie said as well, say what you will do with those 500K and how much revenue it will generate by injecting those 500K. And finally, I promise this is the last comment for sure. The team is very important. I think you should pass a little bit more time on the team side, what they bring, what you want to hire potentially with the 500K. That's also something that I would add. But that's it. But otherwise, it was really, really good. It's just tips from the entrepreneurial side because I am fundraising nonstop and I get this feedback nonstop. So if I can share my little tips and tricks, it's a pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much all. I don't know if we have time to discuss or if we should move to the next startup.
So we're actually going to have, and this is why we've made a tiny bit more time later on. We will be able to discuss later on, and it will be a pleasure to connect different people together. So as a last part, and maybe something to consider, because it's always very important to use storytelling. This came up from all three of my colleagues, and this is one of the things that struck me when you were pitching was this whole idea of imagine a world without heavy machinery. That part, if you would like to experiment with it, I would actually recommend that you take that and you put it as an intro. Experiment with it and see what it does. Mm-hmm. Because as much as you used and this kind of builds on what Simone was saying earlier on, as much as we as the individual, maybe even as an investor, we don't necessarily know very much about the industry, but by painting that very vivid picture, you make us realize actually it really is all around us. And it allows you to take that and use it as a segue into this is why what we do matters, right? Why should you care? Now, this is for everybody, not just you, for everybody listening on LinkedIn, on YouTube in the future. Pitches are not about us. Pitches are about our audience. So we need to create engagement by getting people to the aha moment, that moment of understanding. And that is probably the single most important part of any pitch. It's making sure that your audience gets it. Okay? So we will have time to discuss later on. Thank you very much for joining. Stay online, obviously. And we're going to move on to the next startup, which is Nightify. So everybody is being removed. And Aurélien, you are being brought online. So,
do you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you fantastically. I'm going to assume that that's the case over on LinkedIn and YouTube. So, are you ready to pitch? Would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay. Don't get why I don't get the authorization right now. Okay, should be okay.
Coming soon. As soon as I see your pitch, I will be the one to add it to the stream. And for the moment, I do not see it. So for everybody watching.
Do you see it?
Now we do. Right.
Okay, perfect.
So when you start pitching, I will start the timer.
Okay. So hello everybody, I'm Aurélien Savard and I'm building a fraud-free world for digital advertisers with Nightify. But first thing first, what do digital advertisers need a fraud-free world? Over the last 15 years, I have been a digital media buyer. And during that time, my bottom line was getting lower and lower. So I decided to study the factors that were really impacting that bottom line. And the factors that impacted much was fraud. Fraud basically is when fraudulent traffic sources are sending fake users to advertisers, and advertisers pay these fake users the same as they pay real users. So I was wondering if this problem was particular to my market or if it's a general problem. And the numbers I stumbled upon were huge. 30% of your digital spend is wasted overall, regardless the vertical you are advertising in, and these 30% are wasted on fraud. That represents $68 billion a year, wasted in digital ad fraud. So, of course, with so huge numbers, we decided to test solutions in the market, but none of them were really solving our problem. So we decided to craft the solutions that we really want. The first part of this solution was to predict and detect fraud even before the first click. That means that you don't even have to buy fraudsters. And of course, to proact and take action to stop fraud even before it happens. And lastly, to act on every device, every traffic source, and every ad format, because fraud is everywhere. So what is exactly our product? Our product is enabling you with saving 90% of the amount of digital fraud. It's a 100% proprietary machine algorithm that helps us doing so and predict the fraud. And we have already integrated it into 75% of popular digital ad stacks. Our business model is simple and direct. We are on a SaaS business model with monthly packages started at 99 euros a month and a 1 month free trial so that you can test what we claim. Our market is huge. The fraud detection market is about 5 billion, and our service obtainable market is about 10.5 million. And it's a constantly growing market with a compound annual growth rate of 23.2% until 2030. Our go-to-market strategy is really simple. We use the force of the strength of what is already existing in the market. We are integrating our own solution into existing digital ad stacks. That way, we are able to be adopted quickly and with limited cost. We are free of charge for the first months. So we are able to have some aggressive strategy that enable people to test us without anything. And lastly, we have a one-click integration. It's really simple to switch to 95 and you avoid all the complicated things that you have with our competitors. So the traction that we plan to have is a 1.5 million traction by 2024 to make 1.15 yearly. And how we do that? First of all, our unique selling proposition is really clear. We save more money by preventing fraud and not reacting to it contrarily to our competitor. And we are having the most easy to use and predictive product in the market. Our team is composed by 2 people, myself, and you already know what I did before, and our technical brain, Jean-François Kenner, which is an expert in high-scale architecture and data science and data mining. So to sum it up in a quick word, we want you to help us build a fraud-free world by becoming a mentor or helping us secure 300K in investment in a pre-seed round. The use of proceeds of this investment is here, and if you want to know more about how we will concretely use it, feel free to ask me any question needed. And that's all.
So the rule of the game is if you pitch for 4.5 minutes, you get almost 15 minutes of feedback. So I am going to add our jury. Dunk, dunk. And here we go. So we ended with Ilana last time, so we're going to start with Ilana, if you would very much like.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Aurélien, for this amazing presentation. I think your structure was really good, really nice. Very short though, considering the fact that you need to do a presentation on 10 minutes, but whatever. Sometimes shorter is better, right? It's rather the quality than the quantity, yeah? So the problem statement was really, really good. The opportunity was well said. I didn't really understand the solution, so I don't understand what you offer. You really explain what it is, where it is applied, but what is it in the end? Is it a dashboard? Is it something? Is it created? Is it not created? So you really put where you apply it perfectly well, but what do you apply? What is the solution? That's something that I really missed. The business model, so you say that it's starting at 99 euros a month, but for what? That's also another feedback. The size of the market was really well explained. So TAM, SOM, SAM, perfect. Go-to-market strategy, really good. But then I didn't really understand why you have slipped into the go-to-market strategy, the one click. So is this part of your go-to-market strategy, or is this more part of the solution? That's also another feedback. Now, the competition slide, I'm sorry to say, but I really don't like this one. The presentation as such is something that you should never do. This is one of the biggest mistakes as we entrepreneurs do, is to present the competition slide like that. You can put crosses, whatever you want, you do this, you do that, blah, blah, blah. But this is really kind of the American theory that you apply here and not really where you differentiate yourself. I'm really sharp, sorry for that. But as said, it's really feedback from on the ground, as I have that every day. The team is really well explained. So your two founders, that's for sure. Now you could potentially push a little bit more on the who brings what, the story behind, where you met, why you did that together. You know, a little storytelling behind is also nice. The call to action is clear. The use of proceeds is really clear. Now, my only question is the product live? I don't really think so by the presentation you just give. So better be also really transparent and honest. So that is also something that I would recommend. But otherwise, well, really good structure, straight to the point, and it's overall quality over quantity. So well done.
Okay, I will just give you a piece of information. First of all, thanks for your feedback. And yes,
Aurélien,
also
we're going to have the open conversations at the end, because otherwise we won't have time to get through everybody, because there's a bit of feedback to give. But promise you will have time to talk.
no problem.
So Elodie or Simone, who would like to pop in? Elodie, fire away.
Okay, Ilana, I agree with you. The format is a little bit frustrating because I have so many questions. It was very short, which is great for a pitch, but also, for instance, we didn't have any information about the business model. So we saw very quickly a graph with the sales turnover and the margin. And I realized that the sales turnover goes in parallel with the margin, which I think is a little bit, okay, in digital marketing, I think it can be possible if you do growth marketing, for instance. But I think it has to be a little bit more explained on your slide. Also the team. You are only 2 members. It's great. You are complementary. I think you really master the marketing part, because I really enjoyed all the details you gave us about the CAC, everything. All the numbers were very, very good. You master the market for sure, but maybe it could be interesting for you to try to federate some other people, like advisors. Just to have another kind of feedback, not from operational side, but more on the strategic part. And also, if you could put a little bit more vision, exit strategy could be a part of this vision, for instance. How you want to grow, how you want, you explained very well how you want to use the money, but you didn't explain at all the way you did your valuation. So what does this amount represent in your shareholders, for instance? This kind of thing could be interesting. But well done, Aurélien. It's very nice. I really like the logo is very, very well done. So marketing part is perfect. I agree with Ilana.
Very good. Thank you very much for that feedback. Simone.
So, Aurélien, first of all, thanks for the presentation, obviously. I think the presentation was very nice. The deck looks very nice. Now, having said that, let me go through the various things you said. So I believe that you explained the problem extremely clearly. I think all of us buy into the problem. You explained it well. If no one knows what you're talking about, after that first slide about the problem, people understand what you're talking about. Nevertheless, you then said that nothing that is on the market was solving this problem, and that's why you came up with it. Generally, this is a statement that sounds a bit weak when you make it, because generally, if there is not a solution that works, is because the problem is not there yet in most circumstances. But in fact, then you make examples of why your competition is not solving the problem. It's basically the reactivity versus proactivity. It seems to me that this is the real understanding. But since you start talking about the competition right at the beginning, it leaves me hanging quite a lot, that then I need to wait like 4 or 5 slides before I find the explanation of why. What is the difference? Why was there nothing that was solving the problem? So perhaps talking about that, we've seen that every solution was reactive rather than proactive, already sets the mood of what is the differentiation, what we're talking about. The other thing is that for your type of business, especially because you're offering an initial period for free, your lifetime value versus customer acquisition cost ratio is critical, and you're not putting that on your presentation. And most investors base their decisions on that ratio alone. So I think that for you specifically, it is important because you're offering your solution for free for a certain amount of time. So it is important, absolutely, to understand the churn rate, to understand the lifetime value versus CAC. Your team seems insignificant, not because it is, but because the way it is portrayed in this deck. So when you go through the deck, you have 2 people on the team, which is not a problem, but then you spend 2 seconds on that slide, which makes it insignificant. So it is okay to have 2 people on the team, but then build the story behind those 2 people. Why those 2 people are the most credible people in the world to do this job. I always tend to say that pitch decks don't exist. There are decks, and then you are the pitch. So in this case, on the deck, there is an information that you have 2 people, but then you have to pitch. Sell me those 2 people. Why are those 2 people the most meaningful in the world to handle this type of business? No problem with the explanation of 300K pre-seed. You explain, at least in macroscopic 4 steps, how you're going to use the proceeds. What I'm missing here is because your competitors are absolutely formidable. So I agree with Ilana. I also don't like the multi-cross approach, because I can sort of like engineer one of those tables to make us look whatever we want, just by picking the right things on which we would crosses. But apart from that, because we know your competitors are extremely formidable, I think you're missing a slide, which is the barriers to entry. What does prevent others from doing exactly what you're doing? And on this slide, I think it would be very beneficial to add to this deck. Overall, the presentation was great. I like the design. The structure was a bit weird indeed. In some cases, I was hoping to get a response, and then I was getting it 3 slides later instead of getting it immediately. But that's maybe just a personal preference. One real feedback that I really think you should take on board is that indeed, exactly like Ilana and probably like Elodie, I have no clue of how your solution looks like. I have no clue what it does in practice. So you're going from reactive to predictive. So from reactive to predictive and proactive. Great. And so what do you look for? What are the parameters? What do you act upon? Is it a dashboard? Is it an app? Is it a plugin? Is it an add-on? Is it a customer service that I need to call and they schedule the ads for me? I'm really missing that part. And I think that with the time you had in the presentation, you have absolutely no problem to add a good 2 minutes on this part, because in the end, we're buying the solution.
Excellent. Thank you very much, all 3 of you, for that feedback. We do have a few minutes left. So if Simone, Ilana, Elodie, you want to say something else, absolutely no issues. What we want to learn from this pitch. This goes out to you, it goes out to everyone. You illustrated perfectly the hello, everyone. Well, when we're giving a pitch, we have got 15 seconds to capture people's attention, to capture their imagination. And when we say, hello, I am Philip Grother, and this evening we're going to be talking about, I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to be watching by the time I finish that sentence. So we need to start strong. We need to start with a very strong introduction. And if you simply remove the hello, I'm Aurélien, and then you move straight into the problem, you're almost there. The reality is that your pitch is all about solving something that is effectively costing money, right? Now, this is a concept that we all need to wrap our heads around, is the concept of diminishing value over time, because anything becomes the new normal. If you start earning 10,000 euros a month, in 3, 4, 5 months, that's going to become your new normal. You're going to get used to it, right? So what we want to see as investors is also, okay, I'm going to invest in you. What value, increasing value, are you going to give to your clients over time? Okay. And for that, you can tell us the story of a client or several clients with their before and the after, right? Because you have clearly got some clients who are using your tool. And so what we want to see as an audience is, this is what life used to look like. This is what life looks like today for our clients, right? Because clearly, once you have, and you speak about 30%, once you've made that 30% effectively money that is not being absorbed by fraud, right? Money that isn't being technically stolen, well, you can reallocate that 30% of the budget onto ads that actually convert, right? So in your dashboard, what you want, and maybe this is something for you later on, you want to give us a sense of growing value over time, because preventing fraud is great. But once you've prevented the fraud, if you're going to ask me to pay close to 1,200 euros a year, well, I want to make sure that in 3 years, I still understand why I'm paying 1,200 euros a year, right? And if you're increasing my bottom line by sort of like, by a massive amount, maybe you're actually not pricing yourself high enough, purely and simply because you're adding so much value over time, okay? So a component of how your tool is going to help companies perform better in their advertising could be an idea. But tell us about what life looks like before, what life looks like after we have started using your tool. Fantastic. So would any of my colleagues like to add anything before we stay very much on time and we move on to Silent Us?
Just maybe that we have to also appreciate the effort of the startups here, because this is it's a typical environment in which you're in front of people that know how to handle a deck. We see like tens, if not hundreds of them on a yearly basis. At the same time, doing it in a setting in which it is live stream, it does change quite a lot.
100%.
On the other hand, you also need to understand that it changes quite a lot the way we give our feedback. Some of us tend to be significantly more blunt in feedback to startups. So there is a pain in doing the live stream version, but there is also a gain on the kindness on the other side. But having said that, both startups were great.
100%, and thank you very much for that positive note, Simone. Ilana, Elodie, anything to add? Not yet? Fantastic. Excellent. Aurélien, thank you very much. We are going to move on to our third and final startup. So, Hugo,
Hi,
very much
good
for
evening,
joining.
everybody. Yes, can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes, fantastically. So, would you like to share your deck?
Yes. I think you can see now.
It is coming. Yes, indeed. So I am going to start the timer when you start pitching. And the
All right,
floor
I'm ready.
is yours.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Hugo Valdivia, and I'm the founder of Silentus, a mobile app to help you increase focus and beat procrastination. Silentus was born as a personal need when I was working as a finance freelancer in 2020, and I struggled with time consistency, procrastination, distractions, ultimately an unhealthy work-life balance. The scenarios or situations that probably you all have experienced or still do. And in that moment, I wondered if other people suffer from the same problem, and I realized that there was an estimate of 165 million high-skilled freelancers in the world that also experience this unhealthy routine. And because of that, 52% of them are feeling burnout. And the result is a price that we all pay, because the global economy needs to afford a price tag of more than 320 billion US dollars because of this unhealthy work-life balance. That's why I decided to work on Silentus, which is a solution to help you maximize your time, but not only your time, also your energy. How it works? Let's take the example of a freelance copywriter, for instance. On a given day, she needs to work on 3 deliverables for 3 different clients. So with Silentus, she can first create one allowed list for each client, where she includes stakeholders or apps that she uses to contact these clients, and she can turn on and off this list depending on her schedule. Secondly, she can use Silentus, the machine learning part of Silentus, to get clarity on how she can achieve the goals that she has stated for this year. Whether it is writing a 50,000 blog article or writing an ebook, she will know how her success rate is based on her past activity. So in that way, she doesn't need to sacrifice long hours or evenings or even weekends in order to afford and meet her deadlines. And finally, she can use Silentus to create accountability partners, because she can share her progress with her contacts. In that way, she remains motivated, engaged, and committed to continue making progress. What makes Silentus unique is, as I explained, the machine learning part, which we are working on expanding to a personal assistant, which basically means that our users can log off from work, but the business can keep running in the background. So there is no feeling of guilty or FOMO, for example. Also, we are targeting high-skilled freelancers, which is a lonely profession. So we are building a community of people with a similar profile where they can get some support, exchange tips or experiences. Also, by using Silentus, people regain time. So it's the equivalent of getting 1 week extra per month, basically, by allowing only the relevant notifications. And ultimately, we want to help these professionals to build new habits that help them with their time consistency. 3 months after we went live on the app marketplaces, we have achieved more than 1,400 downloads. We closed 2022 with 300 monthly active users at a low cost of acquisition, because we are investing on channels that are very low on marketing investment. And our goal for the end of Q1 this year is to more than triple the number of monthly active users and close 2023 with 10,000 monthly active users. In the team, we have myself, a former high-skilled freelancer. I know the inside of the professions. I also know the pain points, and I also belong to community of high-skilled freelancers. And I also have my co-founder, Maimuna. She's an experienced software engineer, but also experienced project manager, and she takes the lead on the rollout of our releases. And together, we belong to different networks. We get guidance from advisors and mentors that belong to well-known networks. For example, at the moment, we are part of Station F, which is a startup campus very well known in the space. As I said, the 165 million high-skilled freelancers, they are equivalent to a total addressable market of almost $7 billion US dollars, with expected growth until 2026 of almost 7%. Here, we will focus first in Europe and primarily on the high-skilled freelancers that are sitting in the Benelux and the UKI. And this service of obtainable market is equivalent to 250 million US dollars. As I said, Silentus basically helps you to go through all the steps to achieve deep work and flow state. And because of that, we have some differences compared to existing solutions in the market. Not all of them manage the notifications, and not all of them focus on the same community or provide the same type of support with the personal assistant enabled by artificial intelligence and machine learning. How we are going to get to these high-skilled freelancers? There are 3 channels that we are using at the moment. First, we are being reviewed by independent tech sites. Second, we are engaged on speaking events. So, for example, we started last year organizing events around personal productivity and well-being for niche communities of high-skilled freelancers in the Netherlands. Our next event is actually on Saturday in Amsterdam. And the third channel that we use to get traction is basically identifying people with the profile of our user archetype on LinkedIn or other channels. And then we send them invites to download and test Silentus and leave their feedback. Our revenue comes from a freemium subscription model. In principle, everybody can download the app for free, start using it straight away. But if they want to use premium functionalities like creating multiple profiles or entering multiple goals or using, for example, our Pomodoro timer, and the machine learning tool, they need to upgrade with 2 billing options, monthly and yearly. And we started also 2023, kicking off our pre-seed fundraising round of 300,000 for an 18-month runway, and we will use the funds primarily to reach the milestone of 150,000 monthly active users, and also get our first hires to build our in-house team of developers, but also data analysts that are relevant for the artificial intelligence part. So if you want to learn more about our journey, if you want to learn more about our fundraising efforts, feel free to visit silentusapp.com or reach out on email. Thank you for your attention.
Well done. Thank you very much. Excellent. So that was 7 minutes on the dot. And we're going to bring Simone, Elodie, and Ilana back into the fold. So, who would like to go first? Ilana, it is then.
My pleasure.
Yes,
First of all, congrats, because I would like to use your app, so I'm going to download it straight after that. I think it's a pretty good app, by the way. And it's a problem that is more and more common, so well done by achieving this solution and targeting this problem, which is more and more increasing over our generations mostly, and the next one. When it comes to your structure, well done. Nothing to say. Storytelling, pretty good, despite you could push it a little bit more, so you're more into the emotions. Problem well stated. The solution is well explained as well. Nonetheless, I would say immediately that it's an app, because you say it's an app, but only at the traction slide. So in the beginning, you explain the solution, but it's either, is it a dashboard, is it an app? What is it? You can say it straight ahead. The USP, very well explained. Now on the app slide, so the traction is not really understandable since you opened the app in 2022. Did you open it in Google Play, Apple Store, WorldWell? Did you select countries? If you selected countries, why these countries? If you did it WorldWide, well, these countries. Now, if you did it WorldWide, it explains also why you have a low traction as well. Never diminish yourself when it comes to explaining what your solution is, because you already did great. You know, a small step is better than nothing. That is something that you need to keep in mind. And if you diminish yourself in front of the investors, it shows your weak points and they will eat you alive, because don't forget that they are sharks. And if they can eat you alive, they will. And no matter what people can say, investors are always like that. The team is well explained. Now, what is your purpose? Would you like to hire more people in the team? Do you think it's enough? By explaining your team, potentially start with your co-founder, the CTO, to finish on yourself, in order to present your team first and then yourself. Market size is well explained. Competition, same feedback as the others. Never do that, because it's really the classical trap where all entrepreneurs are falling. The go-to-market strategy is really well explained, but again, this is a feedback I didn't give to the others. But a go-to-market strategy is also what are the countries you're targeting, right? Do you wanna eat the entire world live? Like, do you want to chew more than you can, or are you very strategic, especially in a financial crisis that is now happening? You need to be a bit more reserved and cautious. The strategy needs to be well explained. So the Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg strategy, put it in a bin. It doesn't work anymore. The business model is well explained as well, and also your call to action is well explained. So overall, good job.
Thank you very much, Ilana. Simone or Elodie? Simone.
So Hugo, thanks a lot for the presentation. It's clear, maybe in my mind, I have sort of like invented that you said it's an app right at the beginning. so in my mind it was clear, but maybe just I created it. I think it is clear what your company does. What I would be, I'll mix investor and pitch coach feedbacks. Then you decide which one is from which one. What I would question for this specific product, and what you're probably not explaining, is in reality, why are you going after the freelancers and not the entrepreneurs or the employees? The reason being is that, yes, the problem is large, but in reality, I think you're overcounting the freelancer market size, because most of the freelancers are paid by the hour, and most of them build their extra hour of slack. So if I had to see, when going through your presentation, thanks to your pitching, I would, in my mind, it immediately goes to think that this would be very useful only to those paid freelancers that are paid on a per project basis. So they are strongly vested into saving time and deliver faster. Well, there are freelancers and collaborators that are actually strongly vested in wasting as much time as possible, because it is difficult to check often for companies, but these hours generally get billed. So this is something maybe I would question. I'm not saying you have to change at all. I'm just saying it would be interesting to see in your presentation an explanation of why you chose that specific customer type. What was not clear in your presentation as you were going through it is actually when you name dropped the AI personal assistant that lets you log off from work for good. That was kind of unclear, still is kind of unclear to me. I don't know what it actually does and how the usage of an AI assistant lets me sort of like not handle everything. For the simple reason that the thing I would hate the most is for an AI to send messages on my behalf. I want for an AI to recommend messages to me, but never to impersonate me. That's a very different thing, because then I need to live with the consequences of whatever the AI is texting to others, and I don't know which ones they are. Again, we are in the matrix of competition. If you really want to do it, feel free to do it. But again, if you really want to do it, at least don't do it on features. Do it on futures. Do it on gains. The difference with your competition should not be because you have an AI assistant, but is what do I gain because you have an AI assistant that I don't gain from the others. So if you need to make a comparative table, at least make it about gains for the users. I like your slide about the ask. It's fairly clear. Nevertheless, you also for you it's critical because you're on freemium model. So you go for free and then subscribe. You're also missing your lifetime value versus customer acquisition cost ratio. And since you already have customers, you should be very well aware of what that number is. You are also missing, or maybe I missed it, the barriers to entry slide. I've been working on apps for so long that I can tell you that it's very difficult to have barriers to entry, and typically people just resort on the first to market. But so it's to be seen. As also an investor, I would ask that I appreciate that your team is of two. In your specific case, you elaborated very well on what the team strengths are. What is not clear to me is whether it's entirely developed in-house, your app, by your CTO, or whether you're using external companies. Lastly, one advice I would give you, but just because I'm an annoying being, is to rework the design of your slide of your app. Rework the design, not of your slide, sorry, of your app on the markets. We are in 2023, and sadly, an app is successful because of 90% because of its design and 10% because of its features. It's the same reason why people buy a specific car. It's the same people buy specific clothes. So on the App Store, appearance is substance. In life in general, appearance is substance. So if you can make it work to remake the design more, let's call it contemporary for 2023, I suggest you do it. That's all on my side. Thanks a lot for the presentation. It was, however, extremely clear, and you have the right energy to present.
Thank you.
Very good. Excellent. So we, again, because you didn't take 10 minutes to present, we do have a bit of leeway in terms of the feedback that we can give. So my colleagues, if they have something to say, we'll be able to come back to that afterwards. An idea for you and your presentation and everybody out there is that when you have an example, a concrete example of someone, a typical user that could, in fact, use your product or service, or in your case, application, you wrote that you take the example of the freelance copywriter. My contention is that you could, in fact, use that as an intro, right? You actually jump straight into the problem by introducing the problem, the solution, etc., from the point of view of a user, like your freelance copywriter or any of the other buyer personas that you might have. Now, what that does is that doesn't change the nature of your pitch, but it does change the engagement of the emotions and the imagination of your audience, right? So the rest of your pitch is actually going to be quite similar, but if you take that story, you put it at the beginning, we automatically know who it is you're going for, what the benefits are going to be for them. And another piece of advice, once you've built that, what you want to show is, again, you want to show the growing added value over time. Because if, and this applies to anyone, right? If all we're selling is saving time, saving effort, saving money, saving energy, what we're going to do is actually have a sense of diminishing value over time. Okay, so because you brought up quite late, you're developing this AI personal assistant. Well, the more you use it, the more it learns. The more it learns, the more it can assist you. The more it can assist you, the more value you get out of using your service, right? So you really want to communicate that side of your application purely and simply because that's what people are going to be able to project into the future, right? Today, I'm going, straight off, I'm going to save 2 hours of time. And as it learns my habits, as it learns what I do, it can help me more and more and more and more, right? But back to what Simone was saying, it needs to help in the background, right? I'm never, ever, ever going to let, even with ChatGPT, et cetera, I'm never going to just press play, walk away, go to the beach, right? What it's going to do is going to help me get rid of all of the mundane, that for sure. In terms of your traction, it's important to put that into perspective and for us to understand why that traction is so important, right? You said we got 1,400 downloads, but did you get 1,400 downloads in 10 months or 10 minutes, right? The reason why ChatGPT is so absolutely amazing is because they took 5 days to get to 1 million users, right? And they will carry on chanting that until the cows come home, right? But the whole point is we can only see if that's a lot or very little if you put it into perspective for us. And that applies to every single number. Throughout the different presentations that we've seen this evening, we've mentioned, well, you need to give us numbers. Those numbers are only relevant if, let's say you've got a CAC, so a customer acquisition cost of, let's take a big number of €1,000, right? Customer acquisition cost, if the lifetime value is, €10,000 or €100,000, well, there's a big difference, right? And it's also compared to what? Industry standard, if you've got a customer acquisition cost of, let's say, €100, if the industry standard is €1,000, then that means that your cost of customer acquisition is very, very low, okay? So don't forget to use perspective and contrast to build out your narrative. So at the beginning, in terms of delivery, you were a bit quick, but then you settled down into it. Okay, so this is something that applies to everybody again. Remember your breathing exercises. There's a famous breathing exercises, which is the 3 5s. Breathe in for 5 very slowly, breathe out for 5 very slowly, and do it at least 5 times. So, my dear colleagues, we're actually going to move on to the section where we can have an open conversation about every startup. Would any of you like to give a last piece of feedback to Hugo? Elodie.
Presentation. Thank you very much, Hugo. Basically, I really like the concept of the application because it combines two very trendy stuff. The first one is essentialism. And I think with Ilana, we will probably go directly on your application to get it. And the second one is the data. And I think that with two main topics, you can build a very nice storytelling just around those two ones. You put a lot of energy on the storytelling about essentialism and burnout, etc. So I agree with Simone that maybe it's well done. It's a perfect tool for employee, for the company as well. So you presented all the slides with a B2C or a B2 freelancer, but maybe it could be great to present it a little bit more B2B2C. Probably it can help you. So in considering this, you have to tell us a little bit more about your marketing strategy, which is also very important, and it doesn't really appear on your slide. And also a little bit more sharp about your number, because you are talking about the end of March, 1,000 users, active users. So maybe today we are in January. How many users do you have? So it can help us as well to understand if you follow the trend and the number that you were announcing. Also, about the number, we missed the total sales turnover over maybe 3 years, the acquisition cost, and maybe the margin as well. It could be great for you. Otherwise, I think it's very well structured, so you have a very strong basis. Maybe if you can just put a little bit more storytelling and use really the fact that you are dealing with a very current problem, I think it can help you a lot to get the attention of people.
Clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elodie. And I do believe I made a mistake, and I want to apologize in public for almost skipping your round. Thank you very much for jumping in.
I was writing down.
C'est les soucis du live. Okay, excellent. So we are now moving into the last quarter of an hour. Thank you very much, Hugo. I'm going to come here. Right. So, my dear jury, everything that we have learned this evening, and thank you very much for all of the feedback that you have given us. What have we learned, and what are the feedbacks, the general feedbacks that we need to reinforce for our audience this evening? The thing to remember, and the thing that you look for most in a presentation.
Storytelling, for sure.
Storytelling, fantastic.
Storytelling for sure is really important. The emotions, be precise, concise, and never underestimate yourself, because it's underselling, which is not awesome.
Yeah, in many pitches we don't understand where the idea come from, how they built it, and I think Ilana is. I totally agree with her that it's missing a part.
I'd like to say maybe three things in this case. What I look for in general before the ideas, because they say ideas are cheap. Ideas are really cheap. It should be updated. Let's say ideas are really, really cheap, not just cheap. What I look for in a presentation is not a proper deck as much as a proper pitch. Really having in front someone that has stage control, someone that knows where I'm looking at any given moment, knows that it is completely pointless to overpopulate slides with text, because either I'm listening to you or I'm reading the text. So either you don't say anything and you populate your slide, or you minimize the text on the slide so that I can listen to you. I know that there are many people that have the ability to do multitasking. By genetics, I don't have that ability. So I either listen or read. One thing that I think we've seen across the decks is that if you trace the patterns of our comments, it is very understandable that most of the feedbacks are in line and are valid across the companies, across the startups. So in fact, most of our feedbacks are absolutely avoidable, because they're always the same traps that start to fall into. There is a clear way of delivering a pitch presentation. There are the clear tricks that are known. There are slides that cannot be missing, but these slides are known and can be prepared very, very well in advance. So to a certain extent, I think we need to understand this as entrepreneurs, that our job is not to reinvent the wheel in the way the presentation is done. Our job is to create the best storytelling onto a very well-structured deck, of which the structure is known and expected by the investors. And the last thing, but I've seen that the startups so that they have done it extremely well, is practice a lot. Practice with cameras, practice with microphones, practice in every situation. Because you will see that by changing the settings when presenting in public, that behaves in a different way. One thing is a room, one thing is a stage, one thing is two desks facing each other, one thing is just you and your mirror. I strongly recommend to the entrepreneurs to practice a lot, because one thing that can happen, and this evening it didn't happen, kudos to all the startups, is those awkward freezing moments in which people try to remember a pre-made speech that they're trying to remember word by word how it's supposed to flow, instead of just telling me precisely how the story of their company is and what is their company about. So practice without memorizing, if that makes sense, is probably the right way to go.
Also, maybe the vision globally, because they, if you take the last startup, it's great, but you have a lot of things to do after this. You can work on data, you can work on all the markets. We have a plan, and it's a plan like over 1 year. It's done. And after this, so maybe it could be great to see the global picture. And for instance, the first one, he really explained that, okay, we can have a an exit strategy, but it was missing on the two others, from my point of view.
Very good. Thank you very, very much for for that. For the 3 startups, I am now looking at you in the background. Aurélien, Mathieu, or Hugo, raise your hand if you had a specific question about a specific piece of feedback that you wanted to, but show me your hand on the camera so that I can see it. Mathieu, Aurélien. And you are now unmuted.
Okay.
Aurélien.
I've got a question about the product itself. As you say, you had difficulties to picture the product itself and how it works. Is it a dashboard or is it something? The trouble we have in communicating is how we can communicate on highly technical things, whereas we have investors that we don't know how exactly the technical thing, the technical background or so on. How you can, do you have tricks or something that allow us to explain clearly what it is? Because basically our product is an API, and with this API we have multiple forms possible, like plugins, like a lot of things possible. So how would you explain it, in fact?
You just gave the answer. It's an API. This is what you had to say.
Yeah, vulgarization.
As simple as it is, API, bam, that's it. This is the solution. You need to explain your complexity in simplicity, right? Everything you do is complex, but your art will be to showcase that this is simple.
Okay, so just stating that an API is enough, in fact.
And if is it built? Is it not built?
Is it built?
If it's built, how does it look like? Is it in a browser? Is it on a computer? Do you have like a UI that people can see? Is there something that can be seen? So while you say that it is an API for deployment in browsers, I'm inventing, show me how that looks if it's built. If it's not built, show me how you intend to build it, how it's supposed to look once it will be built. I stopped many years ago assuming that people have a synchronized imagination. That means that if you make me imagine something, I will not imagine the same things that you imagine. So generally, I tend to sort of recommend to guide the imagination of your counterpart, whether it is on pitching or negotiations or whatever. Don't let your other part free to imagine. Tell them what they have to imagine. And in your case, I think that this is absolutely important. We didn't know if it was an app, if it was a cloud-based web access solution. But I mean, the recommendation is also to understand that it doesn't matter what you're doing. You need to assume that it's going to be too complex for people to understand. So explain it in simpler terms, as Ilana said, and then explain it to yourself in simple terms, and then re-explain it to yourself in simple terms, and then re-explain it to yourself in even simpler terms. And those are probably simple enough for your audience. Like when it sounds stupid to you, it's the right way of explaining it.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Very good. Thank you very much for that feedback. We have got the time for one last question. Mathieu.
Yeah. So first, thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me for this speech, and thank you for all the feedback that are very helpful for us to grow, to learn, and to improve. But just the machinery industry is very far from everybody. Actually, it seems like a niche market, but it's global. It's a huge market. So I'm in this industry for 10 years. And actually what we do, because that was a question from Simone, what we do for dealers that is not done today, we are the only one-stop solution for all the needs, right? Because a dealer now need to deal with inventory, need to deal with 10 portals where you want to advertise, you need to deal with customer and so on. We bring them qualified lead, we take care of their inventory to automatize everything, and they have one contact to access different listing portal, enter into different markets, and increase their sales. And then the second point that I want to mention was about the finance.
Great, write it in the presentation.
Okay, but I need to decrease the text, right?
Yeah, no text. Say it.
Okay, but that's great feedback. And about the finance that I didn't focus on, it wasn't to be too much detail, because it's already a so far industry for everyone that I want to focus on something that you would see the big picture and understand. And I focus on what we do now and not what could be done tomorrow, because as you said, we can add so many services to secure more and more the international transaction, and increase the basket size of dealers on our platform, like payment solution, insurance, leasing, rental, trading of machinery. So many things we can do. But for sure, I will work on the storytelling to keep it shorter, concise. And if you have any more question or interest, I would be more than happy to schedule a phone call and explain you everything. We have the financial ready, everything is done. So
Yeah, but Mathieu, it's specifically because it's a non-well-known market that you need to be very specific and detailed, because they need to master it in 10 minutes. So storytelling is really, really important, but it's like the basis. And then you have to play a little bit more on details and explain in details what you are doing and how you are doing it.
okay,
The why it's basis.
Indeed.
thank you.
The why is very, very important. And to build on something that Simone just said, make it quote unquote stupidly simple.
Yeah.
This is something that we all fear, right? We all fear stating the obvious, but people don't know what you know. And this is a mistake that we all make. I make every single day. We assume that people know what we know, so we think that we need to be super complex. But there's this concept, we'll write more about this some other time, but it's called the knowledge funnel, right? The reality is that in the knowledge funnel, you're right at the bottom of the knowledge funnel because you're moving the state of the art forwards. You need to take people, to build on what Elodie just said, they've got like 10 minutes to get down to that aha moment, right? That moment of understanding. And it's our job as orators, as people speaking in public, it's our job to help get our audience to the aha moment. Maybe something that you would like to look at, it's called the channel manager. And the channel manager applies to a whole bunch of different industries. And it seems to me, with your explanation, that the channel manager for the machinery industry might actually be one of the things that you're actually doing. So, Aurélien, Mathieu, Hugo, thank you very much for joining. A very special thank you to Simone, Elodie, and Ilana. Thank you so much for taking the time. Before I remove you from the feed, do any of you have any parting comments for our startups and for the audience out there?
Maybe it could be great also, I don't know if it's, again, noise in communication, but it could be interesting to have the feedback also from the other startups about the one pitching. This could be, I think, helpful for everybody.
That would be, and you know what? Because I'm all for live feedback, because we have got 2 minutes left, I will tweak the next version. So very quickly, Simone, Elodie, and Ilana, where can people connect with you, and which means of communication do you prefer?
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes, LinkedIn, it's easier. Yeah.
LinkedIn and Instagram. Let's be 2023. LinkedIn and Instagram, no problem.
Instagram. So that's Ilana De Villers. Okay, and you'll find Ilana on Food for All as well, because Elodie and Simone have given us their full name. Thank you very much for joining, and we are going to see each other in 1 month on the 28th of February for the next Test My Pitch event. Thank you, all of you, once again for joining. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look very forward to seeing you very soon. Connect with each other on LinkedIn, and you'll find more information on testmypitch.eu. Looking forward to seeing you soon, and thank you once again to absolutely everyone.